Hey, how are you,
All
Colonel?
right,
How you doing?
we got. I don't know what was wrong last time, but I couldn't get the
Oh,
camera.
that's all right. That's all right. How you doing? How's everything?
Outstanding. It's another beautiful day here at the Kennedy Space Center.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to have you on this podcast. Just everything you've done and this entire topic kind of fascinates me. So I'm sure we're going to have a great crowd. While everyone logs in, is it okay if I just introduce you for people who may not know who you are?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll give a little background. We're very lucky today to have Colonel Bob Cabana. He's director of NASA's JFK Space Center, former astronaut and inductee into the Astronaut Hall of Fame. He graduated from the US Naval Academy with a degree in mathematics. He earned second lieutenant and served as an A6 bombardier. He earned the Daughters of American Revolution Award as the top Marine to complete flight training that year. Graduated with distinction from flight training and logged over 7,000 hours in 50 different types of aircrafts. He became an astronaut in 1986. He was assigned to the Johnson Space Center astronaut office as lead astronaut in the Shuttle Avionics Integration Laboratory. He was mission control spacecraft communicator and chief of NASA's astronaut office. He's a veteran of 4 space flights. He's logged nearly 40 days in space, serving as pilot on 2 space shuttle flights and mission commander on 2 others. Of note, his 4th flight was the first assembly mission of the International Space Station. Following his retirement as colonel, Cabana became deputy director of the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and he was named the 10th director of the John F. Kennedy Space Center recently at the end of 2008. He's an associate fellow in the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronomics and a fellow in the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. He received the Distinguished Flying Cross Award, the Presidential Distinguished Rank Award, and the National Space Club Debus Award. He's also a recipient of the Rotary National Space Trophy. So with all that in mind, I could keep on going on about everything Colonel Cabana has accomplished, but I can just say that this interview has a very personal meaning for me. I grew up wanting to be an astronaut. I've always thought that what you do is truly amazing. I had to settle to be a brain surgeon, but much respect, much admiration for all you and your colleagues do. So welcome and welcome, and thanks for your time.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate it, Ricardo. And there are a lot of similarities between test pilots and brain surgeons. We're a little bit type A, I think.
Yeah, definitely type A. Can you turn up the volume in your phone a little bit? I want to make sure everyone can hear us.
So my volume's as loud as it gets.
Oh, that's good. Right there. That's perfect. That's perfect. Well, I'm going to start off just by talking about how, everyone talks about space is the final frontier. Exploration is really just part of human nature. What is the value of space exploration? Why is it so important when we have so many problems here on Earth?
Well, first off, you're absolutely correct. Exploration is in our DNA. It's who we are. We want to find out what's out there. It's always that one step beyond, that quest to continue to learn and grow. First off, I want to go back and quote, when I got selected to be an astronaut, I was working for John Young. John Young grew up here in Florida, not far from the Kennedy Space Center, and he was one of my heroes growing up as a kid. I mean, he flew that first Gemini mission with Gus Grissom, 2 Gemini missions, twice to the moon, flew the first shuttle flight, the gutsiest test flight ever. And John used to always say, single planet species will not survive. All right. We have to learn to live off our home planet. At some time, there's going to be an event that comes like the one that took out the dinosaurs when that big asteroid hit down there by the Yucatan. And we have to be able to live off our home planet. So that's one reason for wanting to explore and establish that presence beyond our home planet and our solar system. You talk about problems here on Earth. Absolutely, there are problems on Earth. But I will tell you, not one tax dollar has ever been in space. They've all been spent here on Earth, making life better, creating jobs, creating technology that we need to grow as a nation. And when I look at the International Space Station, what a tremendous, tremendous project that has been. It's the size of a football field, a world-class laboratory on orbit, 220 nautical miles above the Earth, with 7 astronauts up there right now from around the world. Yeah, I mean, we're in partners with Russia, Canada, Japan, the European Space Agency, all its partners, and we're all working up there together as one. What a great model that is from a diplomatic point of view, from just how we should operate and live here on planet Earth. So, it's very important that we learn how to live off our home planet, that we continue to grow. And the research that is coming from the International Space Station, it's benefiting us here on Earth. It's making life better. It's improving our economy. And just from a life sciences point of view, what we're learning is it's extremely important for our future as a species.
So let's get into that a little bit more, because people have said the stuff that is learned from our flights to space has benefited us here on Earth. People have talked about GPS, better weather, UV filters. Tell us a little bit about the more recent benefits of space exploration for life here on Earth.
Well, on the International Space Station, we're doing research that is, we're growing tissues in space. I mean, what we can do in a microgravity environment, and oftentimes prove stuff up there that makes it easier to do here on Earth. For example, protein crystal growth. We can grow these protein crystals on Earth, but they grow much better in space, much larger, much easier to define and break down. And then we can target specific diseases, or we can grow vaccines that we need based on that work that we do, that we can do much easier in space. I could go on and on, but what I would recommend is everybody go online and Google NASA's. We put out every year all the things that we learn, the benefits of being in space to folks on Earth. And, there's a thick book that comes out, and it lists all the technologies and the science and the research that has been done and how it benefits us here on Earth.
Yeah, I mean, truly amazing, all the work that is being done there. I was reading
NASA spinoffs, and you'll see.
Okay, perfect. Will do. I was reading about how the goal is to get back to the moon in 2024. Explain why it's important to go back to the moon, and how does that benefit NASA? How does it benefit us? Is that going to be something where we're going to colonize the moon eventually? How does that benefit us?
Well, so first off, the moon is a stepping stone to establishing that presence in our solar system beyond our home planet, learning how to live in an environment, the harshness of space, okay? It's a stepping stone on getting to Mars. And we want to go to Mars, all right? We send rovers there, but we want to send humans there also. So when we went to the moon before, it was a 2 or 3 day camping trip, all right? We want to go in a sustainable way. And there are resources on the moon. We also want to do it. We're not doing this alone. We're doing this in partnership with our international partners in a cooperative effort. One of the things we want to do is get to the south pole of the moon, because there is water, tons of water ice on the south pole of the moon. What is water? It's hydrogen and oxygen. It's fuel. It's air to breathe. It's water to drink. All the things that we need to establish a presence beyond planet Earth. We can't take all the stuff with us. We want to do what's called in situ resource utilization, utilizing the resources of where we go in order to sustain ourselves once we're there. So are we going to colonize the moon? Yeah, I don't think we're going to have folks permanently living on the moon. Are we going to go and explore and learn more about the moon? Absolutely. Are we going to utilize the resources on the moon? Of course. So we plan to return with the next man, first woman on the moon, landing in 2024, but then stay in a sustainable way. Longer missions. We're putting a mini space station, as you will, a gateway in orbit around the moon that will allow access anywhere on the lunar surface, not just around the equator like when we went with Apollo. What we learn going to the moon is going to help us to sustain life, to be able to live when we go to Mars and explore there.
So tell us about Mars, because that's absolutely fascinating. We've obviously sent robots there. Tell us the challenges about sending a human being to Mars and how you guys are going to overcome that.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, we have sent rovers, and we just launched another one in July, the Perseverance rover with the Ingenuity helicopter on it. And it's going to be landing on Mars on February 18th. All right. And it's the size of the Curiosity rover. And robots are precursors to sending humans. Right now, to send humans to Mars, we're talking about a 1.5 to 2 year trip. With current propulsion technology, it's 6 to 8 months to get to Mars, and then another 6 to 8 months on Mars for the planets to align for another 6 to 8 month trip home. Also, studies I've read say that before you can send humans, you have to pre-stage like 12 to 18 metric tons of supplies and equipment on the Martian surface in order to sustain them once they get there. A huge challenge. Humans in space, the microgravity environment, endure that for an extended period of time is a challenge. The radiation in space, once we're beyond the Van Allen belt, beyond the Earth's magnetosphere that protects us from radiation here on Earth, that's a huge challenge to protect humans against the radiation once they're in space. Exercise, for example, and you know all this, but for your listeners, we have a skeletal structure to support our muscle mass here on Earth. When we get into space, your brain says, I don't need a skeleton anymore. And you start shedding calcium. It's just like osteoporosis. And what we have found is drugs are not the cure for stopping that. What we need is exercise. The astronauts on the International Space Station have mandatory exercise 2.5 hours a day. They have a cycloergometer. They have resistive exercise like weightlifting and a treadmill. And what we found is you need to get on that treadmill. You need that jarring to the bones. You need the strength training. So everybody, as they age, you should never stop lifting weights. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you need strong muscles to keep your bones strong. But you need that jogging too. I told my flight surgeon last year, I climb the stairs all the time, rather than take elevators. But I take the elevator down because it's hard on my knees. And he said, no, you need to go down the stairs too, to jog those bones to help continue that calcium, prevent that calcium loss. Our neurovestibular, we maintain our balance here on Earth with our visual reference to the horizon, but also through our inner ears, the semicircular canals with the cilia and the cochlea sensing the accelerations. When you get in space, your brain shuts that off. And when you come back to Earth, there's an adaptation that's required. If you close your eyes, you're going to tip over because you don't have that G vector anymore. It takes a while for the brain to pick that back up. We have learned on long duration flights, there's a problem with vision in space. And so far it seems to affect the male astronauts more than the female, but there's an edema, a swelling on the optic nerve that actually affects vision. And it may be permanent, how it affects. It doesn't always recover. It has recovered on folks that come back, but when they go back into space, it doesn't start over again. It picks up where the degradation was previously. So we have a lot to learn about how we survive in a microgravity environment for an extremely extended period of time.
So the goal is to eventually have Mars colonized, is what it sounds like.
I think that's way down the road. There are some people that want to do that. Right now, I think our goal is to explore Mars and to learn more. One of the reasons for going back to the moon is that we're going to learn more about Earth, because the moon essentially was a piece of Earth and it's pristine from when the Earth was formed. It hasn't been impacted by an environment. And so we can learn more about our own home planet going to the moon. Well, we'll learn more about maybe our home planet when we go to Mars. Mars at one time had an atmosphere, not unlike Earth. It had flowing water. What happened? How did all that change? What can we learn from going to Mars that will improve our life back here on Earth? So, yeah, it's that desire to explore, to go beyond and continue to learn.
I mean, I was going to say, if someone listens to you talk about all the risks of space travel, you just listed like 10 easily, you would think that no one would want to sign up for that. But I bet you have a list of people that are ready to go to Mars because of how epic and legendary that would be, and to be the first and really make a difference in terms of history. I'm assuming people are lined up.
So I think, I'm sure everybody in the astronaut office would jump on it. I can still pass the flight physical. I'm ready to go. They should send me because I'm old and the radiation won't matter. We're all going to get cancer.
That's amazing. So what's the thought at NASA? Do we feel like there's life in our solar system?
Well, I don't know if there's life in our solar system. We're going to learn if there was life ever on Mars, and that's going to be huge, to understand that. Now, is there other life in the universe? This is the way I look at it. In this infinite universe that God created, and go out and look up at the Big Dipper at night. Everybody knows what the Big Dipper looks like. And stick your hand up to the sky and look at your little fingernail in an area under the handle of the Big Dipper. And there's nothing there, right? And Hubble took a picture of space up there, the size of your little fingernail. And what did it see? It's not nothing. It saw not only hundreds of stars, but hundreds of galaxies in just that little area. Kepler, well, we've had a number of probes that we put up, satellites to look for, telescopes to look for other habitable planets. And what we found is there are multiple planets that are in that Goldilocks zone, not too close or too far from a star that could be Earth-like, all right? So I'm convinced. I mean, I think it would be awful vain of us to think that in an infinite universe with an dang near infinite number of planets and stars, that this is the only one capable of supporting intelligent life. So I think it's out there. It's so far apart. We just haven't had that communication yet. But I definitely believe that, my opinion, absolutely, there's other intelligent life in this universe.
I mean, so on that topic about deep exploration, our solar system, outside of our solar system, what is NASA's goal? Obviously, human deep exploration is nearly impossible. Maybe you guys have some theories about how that's possible, but for now, it's just robots and it's machines.
Yeah, and right now we're really limited by our propulsion technology. With chemical propulsion, we've got to come up with something different. I want Enterprise warp drive. we gotta be able to go faster, all right? And we're working on that. I think the next big thing that is really going to be awesome, it's the James Webb Space Telescope. And this is going to allow us to basically see back to the Big Bang. And I think it's going to be, we've learned so much from Hubble. And with James Webb, we're going to even be able to see further back in time and see more. And I think that's going to be monumental when we get that up there and learn more.
When is that going to be up?
It's going up next year.
Going up next year. Is that coming out of Kennedy?
No, in partnership with ESA, it's going to be launched on an Ariane rocket from French Guiana, but it's being built here in Northrop Grumman. It's in its final phases of testing, and it'll be ready to go next year.
Unbelievable. So you mentioned about French Guiana. How much collaboration does NASA do with Russia, with China, with other countries in terms of their space exploration?
So the International Space Station, as I mentioned, is an absolutely great partnership with many of our international partners. And the international partners are along with us as we go back to the moon also in the Artemis program. And Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo, I think very aptly named for our next trip to the moon. But right now, the European Space Agency is providing the service module that supports the Orion command module on the Space Launch System. And we have also signed agreements with Canada, Japan, and we're working with our other international partners on the gateway and surface operations when we get to the moon. So yes, absolutely, our international partners are key as we explore. This is, for one thing, it's way too expensive for any one nation, but also I honestly believe that when we leave planet Earth, we need to leave as the people of planet Earth in working together. As far as the Space Launch System goes, we're flying our first test flight next year. Right now at KSC, we have all the hardware except for the core stage. All the facilities and hardware necessary to process and launch the Space Launch System and Orion are ready to go here at Kennedy. The core stage right now is at the Stennis Space Center in Mississippi. It's going through a final test there. We're going to fuel it. That test was supposed to happen today. It's been delayed 24 hours. Fuel it all the way up and then drain it, make sure everything's right. And then we're going to run the engines on it for a full launch, how long a launch would take. Once it passes those tests, it will come on a barge here to KSC. The Orion spacecraft is sitting ready to process right now. It's ready to go. As soon as we get that core stage, we'll be stacking it up, doing final testing, and launching it next year on an uncrewed test flight to the moon. Then a year or so after that, we will fly a crewed test flight to the moon, but they won't land, with the goal of landing in 2024.
Absolutely amazing. Going back to something you said earlier, you talked about the large asteroid that hit the Yucatan, hundreds of millions of years ago. Are you guys preparing any type of defense mechanism for asteroids, comets? Is that something that's on NASA's horizon to prevent a cataclysmic event that ends the human race?
So right now, the key thing to do is track them and know where they are and know what's coming. Currently, there is no specific way to prevent an asteroid from hitting us.
I mean, it's like the movie Armageddon. It's like the movie Armageddon.
So the problem with that, if you blow an asteroid up, you have not changed its trajectory. All you've done is taken a big rock and make a bunch of smaller rocks that are still heading with that same energy towards Earth. So what is going to be required is some way to redirect an asteroid early enough once you do the analysis and see one's coming our way in order to make sure it doesn't hit us. Now, one of the things that we're doing, we have captured a sample from an asteroid. The OSIRIS-REx mission has actually flown to an asteroid. It has gone down to the surface, captured a sample, and it's going to be bringing a sample of an asteroid home. So, we continue to learn about what's out there on the asteroids also.
I mean, is there anything we can do if an asteroid is coming towards Earth? Is that just endgame?
It depends on the size of it, and not my field of expertise. So I'm going to hold off commenting.
Okay, all right. But we are mining asteroids. Is that just because you mentioned it? And I know that people say there's a lot of essential elements and minerals on asteroids. Is that a potential source of these resources?
It could be. That could be a future commercial source of money for somebody to mine asteroids. Right now, we're still studying and learning about the asteroids.
Got you. Moving towards what has come about recently in the last 5 or 10 years, mainly through SpaceX, Boeing, Virgin. Those are the well-known kind of private space companies making space a more commercial business, making it into a tourist type field where you can have civilians fly low orbit, potentially talking about circulating hotels, low orbit. This has all come out of Elon Musk and SpaceX. Is that something that is realistic in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years?
So first off, we have partnerships with all of those commercial companies. And people talk about government space and commercial space, and there's only one space above us. And if we are going to be successful as a nation, we need government and commercial space integrated together. And that's what we've accomplished here at KSC as we have transformed into this multi-user spaceport, supporting both government and commercial operations. Right now, in the next 5 years, we're averaging 10 NASA launches a year. That doesn't even include the commercial launches or the Department of Defense launches from Kennedy and Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. So just a very exciting time. Our goal is to commercialize low Earth orbit, where we, NASA, can be one of many customers. And we can then focus on that really hard job of exploring beyond our home planet, developing new technologies. And we share our technologies with the commercial companies. These commercial companies didn't make it on their own. And if you talk to Elon, he'll be one of the first ones to admit that he would not have been successful had it not been for NASA's help. Blue Origin, they have recently won a NASA contract, but Jeff Bezos has developed Blue Origin with all his own money from Amazon. So, to say they're purely commercial, commercial to me is I have a good idea, I go out and get venture capital, I build it, people like it, it's successful, I make a profit, pay off my loans. Right now, we got a couple of billionaires between SpaceX and Blue Origin that are doing a lot of this, but they are moving forward. They have a vision. They're both very passionate about space exploration, about establishing a human presence beyond our home planet in space. So that they're both visionaries. They're both driving, and working together with NASA, we've got the Commercial Crew Program now. That's SpaceX and Boeing. These are NASA contracts. We work with SpaceX to help develop the Falcon 9 Crew Dragon to fly crews to the International Space Station, which happened successfully this last year. For the first time in 9 years, we launched a U.S. rocket with U.S. astronauts from here at the Kennedy Space Center. That was done through contract under NASA. But the difference is we don't own the rocket or the capsule, all right? We're buying a ride to space. We help develop a capability. Our goal is we want that to be commercial. Right now, the only destination in space for these commercial vehicles is the International Space Station, a government-run space station. Now we're working with commercial partners. There's a commercial module up there right now, and they want to add another one and fly commercial astronauts up there. But eventually, we'd like to see, small commercial space stations up there where we are not funding everything. We can just go buy research time on it and send astronauts up to do research as opposed to operating the whole expensive thing. So, are we going to get there? I believe we are. Is it going to happen right away? No, it's going to be an iterative process, but we have definitely laid the groundwork for it. And we as the government are helping to enable that. That's what we want to see happen.
I mean, it's just so exciting because I know that space is viewed as this mysterious place where you can't go unless you're superhuman like yourself. But the idea that it's going to be available to the normal human being to potentially take a vacation in space or go up for 10 minutes like, Elon Musk is talking about, it's fascinating because it's bringing something that's so mysterious and making it real for the general population.
But it's going to be a long time before it's affordable for the general population. Right now, it's very expensive. It is a risky environment. We're not even, if you look at Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin suborbital flights out in Texas, those are hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a ride on that vehicle for 15 minutes of weightlessness and see Earth from over 50 miles high. That's not available to the normal person. But, I liken it to, if you look back on when we were first flying across the Atlantic, it was only the very wealthy that could afford that. Everybody else was in steerage on some ship coming across. So, everything evolves over time, and I think eventually we're going to get there.
How important is it moving forward for the USA to continue being the leaders in space exploration like we have been? People talk about spending, budgets. Why is it so important for the US to maintain its position as a leader in space exploration?
It's absolutely critical that we maintain our leadership in space for our own security, for our own knowledge, for our own growth as a nation, for our own survivability. If we give up our leadership in space, we're going to become a second-rate nation. It's no different than, controlling the seas. And I'm not talking about controlling space. I'm talking about learning and being up there and taking all that technology, what we learned from it. I don't want to see us, not be a world leader, not have the economy that we have. And space, that's our future out there. We need to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I could not agree more. Wrapping up here, last question, because I know you're super busy. What do the next 50 years look like for NASA? Like, in your opinion, the next 50 years, major achievements. Give us a look inside that crystal ball.
Oh, man, I wish I were a prognosticator that could be a seer and share all that with you. I'm a very optimistic person, and I'd probably be wrong. When I joined NASA back in 1986, I thought I'd be on the moon, but it's been 50 years, or let's see, 1972, right, was when Gene Cernan made the last footsteps on the moon. That was 48 years ago. I mean, 2022, it'll be 50 years since the moon. All right, and 50 years from now, I expect us to be on Mars. I expect us to have, utilizing the resources of the moon, people staying there for extended periods of time. I expect to have us establish a foothold on Mars, learning about what's there, and I hope to have better propulsion technology, access to an environment around low Earth orbit that, as you said, would allow more people to be up there, not just for work and for science, but for the pure joy of being able to see the Earth from a couple hundred miles high. If I could just share briefly, you know, I'm blessed to have gotten to do what I have done. I would have loved to have seen that blue marble that the Apollo astronauts saw from the surface of the moon. I'm telling you, from 220 nautical miles above the Earth, to be able to see the curvature of the Earth in 1,500 miles in any one direction. And the Earth is just a beautiful blue jewel of a planet, but there's this thin little hazy line over it. And that's our atmosphere. That's all that's protecting us from that harsh void of space with its ultraviolet radiation and extreme temperatures. And space is just the blackest, darkest void you can possibly imagine when you're on the sunlit side of the Earth. No black on Earth does it justice. And that beautiful blue planet, you know, you can look around and there's nowhere else up there or close by. Mars doesn't have an atmosphere. Mars isn't this beautiful Earth. The moon is barren and desolate. You know, our home spaceship right here, this is a pretty awesome place, and we need to take care of it. And to be able to share that view with more people, I think would be, I think people would really appreciate, you know, what a special place planet Earth is. And you don't see the boundaries from space. You just see, you see its beauty. It's pretty darn amazing.
I mean, Colonel Cabana, I could talk to you all day because, as I said, I always grew up wanting to be an astronaut. If you guys ever need a brain surgeon on the space station, you let me know. I'm there. Absolutely. I don't know about Mars, but I'll definitely go to the space station. And you just thank you for everything you do. I think what you have done and what you continue to do is amazing for our country, for our species. And just God bless you for everything you've done. And thanks for your time today. It's truly amazing.
Thank you, Ricardo. And thank you for allowing me to share with your followers. This is really important to our future. And I just, I want to thank everybody for their support. And I will also throw in, please be safe out there. You wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands.
And get your vaccine.
We're going to get a vaccine, and we're going to have herd immunity, and life's going to get back to normal. But in the meantime, be good. Do the right thing, okay?
Absolutely. I'm getting my vaccine today. So.
And I wish everybody a joyous holiday season. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate Christmas. Happy New Year. And I see an awesome future for us as we move ahead.
All right, Colonel, you are awesome. I speak for everyone on here.
All right.
All right, take care, okay? Happy holidays.
Same to you.